Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. I'm your host, Viz, and today we are joined by Andi Matichak, the star of Halloween Ends, which premieres in theaters and on Peacock streaming October 14th. Andi, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you feeling?
Thank you for having me. It's pretty surreal that we're in the final leg of this.
Oh, it's amazing. I love this movie. And let's just get right to it. You've been playing Allison now for nearly 5 years. Was it difficult for you to say goodbye to the character?
Yes, it's something that I don't think it's fully sunk in. It was difficult, obviously, to say goodbye to the character, but more than that, it was difficult to say goodbye to the world and to the people that created it. And we had the same crew. We had a lot of the same cast throughout three films, and your family by the end of it. And we made three films that are all incredibly different and all incredibly fun, and those experiences kind of creating in that environment together is what is really missed and something that is very held near.
Oh, absolutely. Now, out of the three movies in Halloween Ends, we see Allison beaten and broken, losing both her parents to Michael, friends. How did you approach Allison in Halloween Ends as opposed to the first and second movie?
The first and second movie were essentially her reacting to events as they unfold, whereas this has a 4 year time jump. In that 4 year time jump, it was incredibly important to me and to David to work on filling in what happened there and how this person who the last we see her on the porch of Halloween Kills when her mother is killed, to then being standing here now with a life that is seemingly okay.
Hmm.
And how did we get there? And so I spent a lot of time. One of the benefits of having everything be pushed because of the pandemic was we had more time.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of time where every day I would just journal a little bit as Allison and kind of fill in those years that passed and those days and what that meant throughout the year. And having done that, I kind of started to notice like a pattern in writing where it was all of a sudden end of summer comes and then September comes in my journal entries, and things are starting to just naturally kind of flow a little bit darker, and it gave me a real insight into kind of what her not just day to day is, but what like the grand scope of the year is. And so when we meet her in Halloween Ends, she is relatively kind of well adjusted and did a lot of the work to heal and be okay and move on. But that trauma, that pain, it's always under the surface. It lives in your body. It doesn't just go away. You can't bundle it up, put it in a drawer, pretend it doesn't exist. It's there. So we are faced in this film with the anniversary coming up of the tragic events of all of the loss, and then furthermore when new kind of people and relationships are formed, and relationships are tested and cracks start to emerge, and the facade that maybe to the outside world looks poised and heroic but is really, she's still just a girl that
Trying to figure things
just
out. Yeah.
just trying to figure it out.
Now, you have a lot of scenes with Rohan Campbell, who plays Corey. What do you think attracts Allison to Corey?
I think it's a mutual understanding of pain and trauma. There are two people that have been through a great deal of pain, and they can understand each other in a way without speaking that no one else really can. And they can talk about their pain and the things that they've been through in a way with candor that they can't with anyone else.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting seeing the town's reaction to Allison, the town's reaction to Corey. You have this juxtaposition of, it's, they're both ostracized by the
Hmm.
town in their own ways. Even though Allison may be put on a pedestal and Corey might be looked at as the pariah, they're still both ostracized for the pain, and the pain that's theirs, that's deep inside their souls, has almost been taken on by the people around them, and everyone's constantly telling them kind of who they are and what they're going through, and it's not necessarily the case.
In Halloween Ends, we see your character, Allison, really flirting with a darker side of her personality. Was it fun playing the darker or a little bit darker Allison in Halloween Ends as opposed to the first and second, being the straight A student, the perfect daughter, granddaughter, and so on?
Yes, it was a lot of fun, and it was a very unexpected kind of turn, but it also made a lot of sense, and it felt really right that this is where she is. And again, it's to the outside world, she's seen as kind of this perfect depiction of a survivor, and that doesn't negate the pain and the trauma inside and the darkness that's inside that like she still has to live with and deal with on a daily basis. And this film allows the space to explore that, which is something that you don't always get in horror films. And it was really fun to be able to craft that with David and with our other characters.
I have been a Halloween fan my whole life. It's probably the first movie I ever saw. In the 44-year history of this franchise, I can say hands down, Halloween Ends has the deepest storyline of any of the movies in the franchise. When you read this script and you saw how story and character driven it was, what were your thoughts?
I felt like it was the perfect finale. And for me, it felt like this was really David Gordon Green's stamp on the franchise. And I'm very grateful to be a part of it.
Now, we get to see your acting chops in this movie. I mean, you nail it because of the state of mind Allison is in, her emotions being back and forth with your grandmother, Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis. Was it challenging for you to nail the character in a way that you would be happy with?
You're always going to have notes as an actor when you watch it back. Well, at least me. And so I've only seen it once, and you need more viewings in order to really let it sink in from just like a story standpoint. But it's one that I'm very proud of, and I feel very like the whole thing is still a whirlwind and it hasn't necessarily processed. The whole filming experience felt kind of like a dream. Maybe it was a lack of sleep, who knows? But it was a complete dreamlike experience, and getting to dive into a different side of her, like you said, but also further than that, not just her. It's really about the relationships and how those relationships kind of change her and help her grow and challenge her.
Together and be the person that she is. Now let's go back to 5 years, 2018. You got cast for Allison. Was having Jamie Lee on the set, her being with the franchise from the very beginning, did she bring a calming presence to the set, or did that make you really nervous to be with the original Laurie Strode right there?
Jamie is one of the most warm and kind people I've met in this industry, hands down. And it could have been that. It could have been really scary and nerve-wracking. And anytime she's on set, it could be scary. But it was never that, because that's not Jamie. And she made an effort before I even got down there, before we even started filming, when I was cast. I remember I got a text from David Gordon Green, and he was like, "Hey, I gave your number to Jamie. Hope that's okay." I'm like, "Jamie? Like Jamie Lee Curtis? Okay." He's like, she might text you." I'm like, "Okay." And she sent me this beautiful, beautiful text, essentially just welcoming me into the family and saying that she's here for me if I need anything at all, whether it's professional or personal, and that she has really, truly, and deeply meant. And so going down there, I felt very, very taken care of from the get. And she takes care of the entire crew, and she really is kind of the mama, the matriarch of our entire production.
The glue that keeps it all together.
Yeah.
That's an
Yeah.
amazing story. Going back to Rohan, Corey, having to, a lot of the story hinges on your guys' relationship. Did you and Rohan spend a lot of time talking about your interactions, how you were going to play out scenes and so on?
One of the things that was nice about the timing of everything is that we had a lot of time once he was cast. I want to say almost a year before we started filming. So I had known him for quite some time, and we had opened dialogue and a lot of communication about the script. We would work scenes here and there, and so by the time we got down to Savannah, we were pretty fast friends, and it felt like a friend that I just hadn't seen in a long time. And we worked together really well. We have really different kind of approaches and thoughts, but with Allison and Corey, it just worked really well, and we were able to kind of navigate the scenes together and really have each other's back throughout the entire process, from a character standpoint, from a story standpoint, and from a support standpoint in terms of friendship and what that means.
For me, Halloween Ends in a non-direct way answers 40 plus year questions about Michael Myers. And I think it does it brilliantly because it does it in a non-direct way. As a fan of the franchise, do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree with that in a sense, but I think that you pull 10 of you and
Hmm.
you'll have a different answer based on what
Yeah.
you've seen. And that's what I think the beauty of it is it poses so many questions, and people can kind of take what it is they think is the thing, or what they deduce from everything, and create their own mythology of
Yeah.
the thing, which makes it really special and really fun. And it's part of why Michael Myers is so scary. People project whatever they want onto the blank mask, the blank face. And
Exactly.
I think that it poses many questions, this film, and whether they're answered is kind of how the viewer takes it, which is really fun. It'll lead
Absolutely.
to a lot of fun conversation.
I absolutely agree. Now that all three films are done, do any of the three hold a little bit of a special place in your heart over the other two, or are they all equal in your eyes?
It's really challenging. The 2018 is the first, so that's always going to have a place in my heart for what it means and what it meant for my life and my career and everything, and working with these people, and the first of everything. And the Halloween Ends really was probably one of my, it was probably, I don't want to say favorite because it's really challenging, but I absolutely love making this movie, and the depth that we reached and the camaraderie that had been built for 5 years, that like accumulated, and we got to
You can't put it in
explore
a
in the last. No, it's really tough because
yeah.
this last film was, I mean, it's the same crew that did all three movies. It's the same people,
Wow.
these relationships that we've built, that we've created these films with. We got to say goodbye together, and it was something that is invaluable, and you really cannot put it into
Yeah.
words.
You can't put it into words, intangible. One final question before we go. You now working with David Gordon Green for the last 5 years. I'm sure you've grown a very deep respect for him. How do you view your time with him as your director over these three movies?
I'm just so grateful it was him. He has taught me so much about the process and about storytelling, and also opened my mind to a completely different way of telling the story, and using relationship as a vehicle for story. And he's really such a visionary, and he can straddle so many genres in one, that a David Gordon Green movie is just an experience.
Yeah.
It's an experience, and this, I feel like, is David Gordon Green. This last film is his stamp, and it's mind blowing.
And it really is the title. And we're not giving anyone any spoilers, but people have to watch. This film is like none of the other. Andy, I want to thank you so much for coming on here
Yeah.
and sharing your thoughts. I want to thank our audience for tuning in. On behalf of Andy and myself, stay safe and stay walking, everybody.